Today I'm going to talk about my top foundation tips for women over 50. And if you're a woman over 50, getting your foundation right is the most anti-aging thing you can do. Hi, I'm Shelley and welcome to Fabulous 50s. It's been said that if you want to make a woman look younger, the number one thing to do is even out her skin tone with a good foundation. So that's what this video today is all about. Making mature skin on women over 50 glow and create the perfect canvas for any makeup look. These tips are used by makeup artists on film, TV and weddings and shoots. But the same tips apply to everyday women and everyday faces and particularly to mature skin. So let's get started. Foundation applies best to a moisturized and primed skin. So if you're not used to using anything under your foundation, this tip will really make a big difference. This one has been around for so many years. It's what makeup artists use underneath their foundation, and it is very, very, very moisturizing, but can be used on oily skin as well. And this is so perfect underneath foundation. And if you've got dry skin, oh my goodness, this is beautiful. So put that in and let it sit for a little bit. And you can either apply your foundation straight on top of your moisturizer or apply a primer. I love primers because that's my thing and I'm obsessed with foundation. So these two things are my favorite. And I have found this Kryolan primer and it is so beautiful. And Kryolan is a professional makeup artist range. And what this primer does is it makes the foundation stick to it so it gets much longer wear. The goal of foundation application is to even out your skin tone while you can still see your actual skin underneath the foundation. You decide what coverage you want first. So you want a full coverage, a medium coverage, or a sheer coverage. Then you apply product, sheer out, and then layer. And that's the trick with foundation, and it works a treat. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And today we're going to use wax-based foundation, which is a lot different to liquid foundation that you may be used to. But I say give this a try because we're all into trying new things and experimenting. But these foundations, these wax-based, this is RCMA and this one's Kryolan, and I'm obsessed with these. They are the most beautiful foundations and I think you're going to love them. And the reason I love them so much is because they're 50% pigment, which means that it's all about the color. So you're putting product on your skin that's a color rather than a lot of product on your skin mixed with a color. So these ones, for example, are around 50% pigment, and a normal liquid foundation is anywhere between 18 and 25% pigment. So with less pigment in your foundation, you need more of it to cover all your uneven skin tone, redness, blotchy, sunspots, and all of that. Tools that apply foundation is either a brush or a beauty blender or your fingers. And technically a brush is for blending and shearing out, and beauty blenders are for layering. You can use either of these tools to apply your foundation, but it's just good to know what they're for and what the purpose is. I'll apply RCMA to this side of my face and the Kryolan to this side, just to give you a comparison. And if you buy a palette like this, you can combine the colors. You can't get it wrong because whatever your skin tone is, a combination of these colors will suit you perfectly. And when you find the color that you absolutely love, you can buy them in this size, which this will last me a year or more because you need such a small amount. I'm going to combine these two colors for my skin, and you just take a small amount and put it on your hand and these two colors. That's all you need. It's such a small amount. And with a wax foundation, you've got to heat it up first and it becomes creamy. And then you apply it, I apply it with my finger. And this is just all pigment. It feels so luxurious and beautiful. And it feels different to liquid foundation. I'll go in on the other side with my Kryolan. And this is my exact shade. And if you happen to live in Sydney, you can go to the Kryolan store on Oxford Street and they'll do a colour match for you. And if you happen to go there, the makeup artist that helped me was Raja, and he was so helpful. He was amazing and full of wisdom and information, and his service was 10 out of 10. So if you are lucky enough to meet up with Raja, ask him to colour match you. And if you're not in Sydney, I'll link all the places that you can get these colours and you can have a test for yourself. So this is the Kryolan one. The coverage is so beautiful. Let's get to the technique part. Now that I've got it on my face, I'm going to blend out and sheer out and layer. And this is the way to get that most beautiful look that the professional makeup artists get when they're doing, you know, work for TV or film. And a brush like this that's dense, that can buff out, a kabuki brush. This is like a Ray Morris sort of beautiful brush, and these kind of brushes. So we're going to take one and we're going to start blending out. And here's the kicker with foundation. This is what we can get very, very wrong. Because we're over 50 with mature eyes, we don't often see everything. And I have to be the first to admit that, because we can be doing our makeup and miss parts. If you're just doing this, and when you go outside, your skin is blotchy and there's parts that sort of have a lot of pigment and parts that you've missed. So buffing out your foundation means that that doesn't happen. And that's probably the number one mistake I would see with foundation on older women, is that blotchy application, because we don't know what we don't know. And it's one of those things that people aren't going to come up to you and say, hey, you've missed a spot with your foundation. So this is something, make sure that you have a beautiful brush to buff out your foundation. And you can't go wrong. Take it down to your neck. And if you're using a liquid foundation, you do the same thing, because we don't want our eyesight to fail us and we don't want any bits missed. If I want to make this a little bit more full coverage, I would add a little bit more to my hand, warm it up, and again I'm going to buff it in and sheer it out. That's going to give you such a beautiful look, as opposed to foundation that's sort of full coverage and 24-hour wear and thick and heavy, because all that's going to do is make us look like we've got a mask on. And we don't want to make that mistake as we're getting older, because we can't get away with it because of our lines and wrinkles. And what happens is, around our eyes and around our mouth here, we're moving all day. And if we're going to have that much movement with this heavy mask on, it's going to crack. But doing something like this sort of technique, you don't get the cracking because you've buffed and sheared out and then reapplied. Here's another tip. If you've got oily skin or you're having hot flushes all the time, you can layer that with a setting spray. So you can use I've got an Urban Decay Mattifier, and you can spray on like this. And this spray is a layer. So sticking with that principle, we're going to use this for the layering product, and we're going to tap that in, and that's going to help with oil control during the day. And you can also spray it on your beauty blender and again layer, 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 layer. It's all about technique, and layering and blending and shearing out is the way to get perfect foundation. And nobody has ever said, I want to see a woman with a face full of thick foundation, because that just doesn't look great. Now, here's the thing. If you've got lots of wrinkles and lines around your face, which many of us do, you can't get rid of wrinkles with foundation. It doesn't happen that way, because wrinkles are crevices in our skin. So unless we're going to fill the crevice up with some putty, they're going to stay there. Okay, here's what you do. You buff out the areas on your face where your wrinkles are. So for me, it's around here and around my eyes, and the goal is to shear out your foundation as much as possible around those areas. So by the end of the day, you don't have a gathering and a collection of foundation inside your lines, because you've sheared it all out. Another tip is to, rather than apply a ton of foundation in the morning, decant some of your foundation into a small container, and then during the day just touch it up. It's so easy. You only need the tiniest amount. Rub it into your fingertips to warm it up, and then just apply it. So for me, I like to reapply around this area, because that's where it gets a little bit thinned out for me. And that's all I do. It takes 2 seconds. And then, because we're layering, we use the principle of layering and using a sponge, and you just tap it in. And that's going to give you a beautiful fresh look halfway through the day when you need it the most. When you've got your foundation to this stage, you can add powder. And there's a couple of things I want to say about powder. The first thing is, if you're going to apply a powder with a color in it or a pigment in it, it can end up looking not great at the end of the day. And the reason is, if you get oily and you've got a colored powder on your skin, the oil and the powder and the foundation all mix in to create a different color on your skin. And that can look really ashy, you know, halfway through the day. So if you don't powder here and you powder here, this area can have a completely different color, and you can really tell when you're outside. So I have found this product. This is a Ray Morris invisible mattifier, and it's clear, it's invisible, and it's the strangest consistency, but it does an amazing job. And it feels like a gel. No, it doesn't feel like a gel. It's sort of between a powder and a gel, and it's sort of soft. But what you do is you put your brush in, it's actually a powder, and then you dab it on to the areas that you'd like to mattify. And instantly it takes down the shine. So if you're someone who gets hot flushes or has oil in this area, this product here works like amazing. And that's all you need to do, just a small amount, and it takes away the shine. But the thing is, it's invisible. So if your skin continues to produce oil during the day or get very, very hot, the foundation that you have on your skin isn't going to mix with a color and create another color again. And another product that I have is the RCMA, which is the same company I told you about before. This is a no color powder, and you can put a little bit of this powder. It appears to be white, which it is, but when you put it on your skin, it becomes invisible, and it completely takes down the shine. I like the shine, but I'm just showing you. And this is really great if you're having hot flushes. This one is really inexpensive, and look how much there is. I decant it into one of these little containers, and then you can carry that around if oil is your problem. You can carry one of these around and this, and this, and you're set. You're going to look fresh all day, every day. And to hold your foundation and all that work you've just done in place, you can use a setting spray. And I love the Too Faced Hangover 3-in-1, but Raja told me to get this one. He sold it to me. It's the Derma Color Fixing Spray, and he said that this would give this a run for its money. And it's true. I love it. It's different. It kind of feels it's different to this one, as it's not as dewy looking, but it gives just that perfect satin look to your face. This has a sun protection SPF 20, and again, this is a makeup artist one, which they would use for a wedding to keep the makeup long lasting for the whole day. And then on top of my foundation, every time I make it 3D, I put a Charlotte Tilbury Flawless filter on, and it gives a beautiful dewy luminous glow. And I just apply that with a beauty blender and apply it here, and that lifts my foundation and makes it look even more dewy and more beautiful. I really hope you got some value from those foundation tips, and I encourage you to try new ways of applying foundation and try some of these techniques, and you can't get it wrong. Just have fun experimenting with new different ways and use the foundations that you have at home. Just try buffing and blending and layering and see if you get a different result. Please give a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and have a beautiful week.